So again, we're going to go ahead and dive into Office 365. So let us first talk a little bit about CCB. Right now, CCB is one of the partners with Microsoft. We work directly with them with their Cloud Services Department. A couple of awards we won recently. In 2013, we received the General Manager's Central Region Award. We were also 2012 Partner of the Year for the East Region, as well as in 2012 one of the finalists in Sales Excellence, and as well as Cloud Partner of the Year. We have done a good number of migrations underneath our belt, deploying thousands of users over the past couple of years. And we are continuing to move forward with these cloud migrations as well. So a little bit of background about us. Now, one of the common questions that I usually hear when it comes to Office 365 is, what exactly is it? Isn't it just the latest version of the Microsoft Office package? Well, it is and it isn't. While that is included, you're also getting a lot more with your Office 365 subscription. You're getting the Office Professional Plus, which is the suite of apps, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Lync Online. And those are actually the full-fledged 2013 version. So you're getting Exchange 2013, SharePoint 2013, as well as Lync 2013. So if you do any digging around or look elsewhere for pricing for Office, you're going to find that Microsoft charges for Exchange, SharePoint, and Lync separately, whereas those are all bundled into the Office 365 package. So with that out of the way, there are a couple of things that I want to make sure that you're aware, and we'll discuss these in a little bit more detail. Is recently Microsoft increased the mailbox storage from 25 gigs to 50 gigs, and that's on their E1 plan, which we'll discuss about. Also included with SkyDrive is an increase to 25 gigabytes per user, as well as the increase of file sizes up to 2 gigs. Another thing that we'll talk about is public folders. In previous versions of Office 365, for those who may have looked into it, may have discovered that public folders were not supported. Microsoft has now changed that, and public folders are fully supported in the new Office 365, and they do not actually count against a license. Microsoft also includes some data loss prevention templates as part of Exchange, and you can also do password synchronization if you have a AD environment currently in your organization that will synchronize with Microsoft Office 365, so you can keep passwords in sync throughout the two. So just to touch a little bit on Exchange 2013. Exchange 2013 is the latest version of Microsoft Exchange Server. You're, like I mentioned earlier, getting the full-fledged version of Exchange 2013. You're not getting a watered-down or simplified version of the software. You're actually getting everything that you would get when you purchase Exchange for your environment without the hassle of having to deal with a physical server, using power resources, cooling resources, Windows updates, software maintenance. You're going to get all of the benefits with none of the hassle. So you're still going to get your protection. You're going to get archiving capabilities and e-discovery capabilities. You're also going to gain the added benefit of being able to access your email and SharePoint and SkyDrive from anywhere, from any device, simply through your web browser, and as we'll discover too later on, through certain applications. But you're also going to retain that power user control. So you're going to be able to fully deploy and manage users and a number of other policies, which we'll go into a little bit more in detail. The other thing that I want to touch on too is SharePoint. So for those that aren't familiar with Microsoft SharePoint, SharePoint is the Microsoft solution to internal intranet sites as well as document repositories. So you actually can make a number of different kinds of internal web pages and external web pages through Microsoft SharePoint. But we're also going to focus on how you can use the SharePoint document repositories to create a central location for all of your files and documents that can be used for collaboration across your organization or multiple organizations. And then finally, there's Lync Online, which is actually what we're using right now to get connected. Lync is more than just chatting, like instant messaging, but you can also do these types of meetings, which include up to 250 participants, but you can also do voice over IP and video chats as well. So we'll touch on those a little bit more during our demo. Now, with that out of the way, I do also want to show you here, as I mentioned before, there are many different plans that Microsoft offers for Office 365, ranging from the small business all the way on up to the enterprise. For nonprofits, Microsoft actually qualifies us to use their enterprise level licensing. So this includes the E1 package as well as the E3 package. And as you can see, the two are very similar, but there are a few key differences that I want to point out. The first is with an E1, as you can see, it's $0 a user per month. So essentially E1 is free for nonprofits. With that, each mailbox has a 50 gig mailbox size, which I mentioned earlier was an increase from 25 gigs. But you can also add components to it as well. So if you look here, the Office Pro Plus package, which is not included in the E1, can be included for up to $2 per user per month. The other thing that you can include with the E1 is the Exchange Online Archiving. That is additionally something that you can add on to your E1 that does come with the E3. So if you look at the E3 for $4.50 a month per user, you're getting a truly unlimited mailbox. So basically you're never going to ever run out of storage space for your emails if you have to worry about archiving or e-discovery or any kind of compliance issues. You're always going to have a truly unlimited mailbox. And for SharePoint, you're also going to see some advanced features. Now, that's not to say that with an E1, you're not going to be able to develop amazing looking websites using SharePoint, but if you're, let's just say, in a development stage, or if you know a lot of advanced HTML features, you can actually code specific things into your SharePoint page with an E3 license. Now, the other thing I want to touch on here too is with Office web apps. Web apps, as we'll see during our demonstration, allows you to actually open and edit Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote files all from within a web browser. So for those that are on an E1 that don't have the Office Pro package, you can actually open up these kinds of documents through your web browser that are located on your SharePoint or SkyDrive data stores. So we'll touch on how that works in a little bit. And then again, the key feature here that I want to show you with the Pro Plus package is that this does include your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher, Link Client, Microsoft Outlook, Access, OneNote, InfoPath, and SkyDrive applications. So you're actually getting all of those bundled together in one easy to deploy, easy to maintain package through your Office 365 license. A couple things I want to note on this is that this is a per user installation, and you get up to 5 computers per user. So if you have an organization where you have multiple computers per person, so if maybe one person works off of a Windows computer and also on a Mac computer, you can actually install on each device their own instance of Office, and then they'll still have 3 licenses available to install elsewhere. So maybe you want to have that employee take Office Pro home and keep consistency between work and home. So that way, if they're working on Office documents in version 2013 in the office, they can then take that same experience home with them and continue using it. And therefore, if they have any questions, they'll become more familiar over time. And then same thing goes for if they need to edit the documents from home, they'll have that ability too. Now, one other thing too I want to touch on is with SkyDrive. As I mentioned before, Microsoft increased that from 25 gigs, to 25 gigs. And that allows you to store on your personal storage what many people consider to be like your home drive. So we'll touch again on this in a little bit, but I wanted to show you the quick overview of all the features for the E1 and the E3, which includes your Exchange, your Link, your SharePoint, your web apps, your Office applications, your SkyDrive, as well as your advanced storage features. So with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into my demo environment. Now, before I begin, I just want to note that this is running on a virtual machine that I have on my computer. It's running version Windows version 8.1. And the first thing we're going to look at is the Office application. So this is Microsoft Outlook 2013. As you can see here, it looks very similar to Microsoft Outlook, any versions from 2007 on up to this latest version, 2013. It's got a little bit of a fresher style to it, but the core functions are all the same. You're still going to get your reminder window that you can use to get a high overview of your day. You're still going to have your Outlook pane, your email pane, as well as your folder pane. So that way, if you break down into multiple locations for your email documentation, as well as any kind of archive, you're going to see that listed here. Now, one thing that Microsoft did include are apps that you can add on to your Outlook experience. One of the examples I want to show you here is the Bing Maps integration. So as you see here, I sent an email from my account to my demo Karen account with just an address, and that's it. Now, what Bing will be able to do is, using its Bing Apps application, it's going to take the address that's listed in the document, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to pull it up here. So that way I don't have to ever leave my browser. It's all done for me right here. And I can even expand upon that and get directions, or I can click on this and export it into an actual Bing web page. Now, the other thing too I want to show you here is the integration with your calendar. Now, you're going to see that as we continue on that there are going to be a number of different tie-ins. So the first thing is with the Outlook calendar, you're able to share and view other calendars within your organization. So that way, if you're ever looking to schedule a meeting, you're going to be able to, at a bird's eye view, see what everybody's availability looks like. Now, as you can see here, I have a number of different calendars that I'm viewing, and this is showing me in the schedule view. So if I needed to schedule something with a number of different folks within my organization, and I'm not entirely sure when the availability is going to be, I can do this schedule view here, and you're going to be able to see their availability listed here. So anybody that's got something marked on their calendar, it's going to show up at a very high level up on this top bar. So that way I can just go ahead and select a time that I know everybody's going to be available, and then I can go ahead and send my meeting invite. Now, this all ties into Link. So one of the things I want to show you here is if I need to schedule a meeting with Dan, it's very simple for me to just highlight his name. Now I have a number of different options available to me. I can see Dan, I can see his availability, and I can also send him a chat message if I needed to say, Dan, are you going to be available at today at noon for a meeting? He can quickly respond back and let me know yes or no. If Dan perhaps maybe worked out of the office, or he worked remote, or he was a traveling salesperson, for example, I can send him a link call. And then this will actually ring him through voice over IP, and he would be able to respond back through a voice over IP chat session. Or let's just say maybe he worked overseas and we wanted to get a little bit more personable. I can actually send him a video chat, which, let me go ahead, did I attach mine? Let's see. No, it doesn't look like it's going to let me. So I apologize for that. I wanted to show you guys a video demo here, but if I wanted to do a video chat with him, I would be able to, if we both had a video camera, actually do a more personable meeting call. Now, let me go ahead and open up Link here as the client. So this is the actual Link client here. And as you can see, this is the availability section. So at a very high level, what I ended up doing was I added myself and Jeremy as external contacts, which, as you can see here, you're able to do. This is actually a demo account on a different domain than our actual CCB domain, yet that doesn't actually block the ability for us to add other contacts here. In fact, CCB uses Link to communicate with a number of our external customers as well for support reasons. So as you can see here, Jeremy and I are both listed as red, and that's because it took from our calendars this actual demo and makes it completely visible that we are not able to chat. Now Karen, on the other hand, hers is listed as green, so that way if I needed to make a chat conversation with Karen, I can see very quickly that she's going to be available, and I can send her my message. Now I can also set that manually if I wanted Karen to be unavailable because she's also a part of this meeting. I can go ahead and select that. Now you can see that her profile has changed. Whew. So that is from the client side here. Let me go ahead and show you the website as well. When I open up my web browser here, I'm actually seeing a very similar screen that I did from the Outlook. I still have my, my notifications here. As you can see, my notification for Link has changed to red. Now if I want to change that back to green, that's going to be reflected here, and if I go back down here, we're going to see that that has changed as well. Now again, you're going to see the same the same window panes, the same apps, although this is going to be done from any device. Now if I was on an iPad or an Android tablet, I would be able to open up this same window and I would still be able to function as I would if I was sitting at my computer desk. Show you calendar here. It's going to be the same kind of setup. You're still going to be able to see availability for other people as well as your own, and you're still going to be able to schedule meetings and do your chat connections through your People tab. So let me go ahead and see if I can find somebody here. There we go. So Mr. Allen here, if I wanted to send him a message, I can also use Link through my web client as well, and it would just open up in a new window. Now that is the kind of the user end aspect of things. I also want to quickly show you the administrative side of things. So one of the things that I want to first highlight is when you log into Office 365 as an administrator, the first thing you're going to do is get taken to a Admin Center overview page. So from here you're going to be able to see at a very high level any kind of issues going on from a Microsoft standpoint. So this is actually from Microsoft, and just as an example, here we see a degraded message. So everything else is listed in green, however Exchange, basically they're noticing some kind of a minor issue that their engineers are working on. However, I can see from just checking my Outlook connection here, I am connected, so that outage has not affected me. Now from here I can also see any kind of open requests. If I had anything that needed to get escalated to Microsoft, it's all listed right here. And if I needed to purchase additional services, I can do that all from the same tab here. So here's my availability to purchase any kind of Office 365 license. And then as soon as I do that, it would easily be added into my portal underneath the licensing tab here. So if you ever needed to check and see what you had licenses for and how many of those licenses were assigned, you can do that all from the licensing tab. Now real quickly here I want to show you too, as part of the migration process, Microsoft requires us to verify that your domain actually exists. So when you set up a trial, you will be able to create this .onmicrosoft.com domain. It's kind of like a debunked name that Microsoft will give you just so you can get into your Office 365 trial. Here you can assign your external email address the ability to send and receive emails using this .onmicrosoft.com. Now obviously you don't want that to be your domain name, so when you go through the actual migration process, one of the first steps is to add your domain name into the Office 365 environment and then activate it and make sure that that domain name is verified against Microsoft's verification process. Now the other thing that this will do, this will also kick off for you as a nonprofit your verification, which Microsoft is actually telling us is taking them up to about 30 days to do. So the sooner that you're able to get a domain name listed here and set it to active, the sooner Microsoft is able to process your verification request. And that means the sooner you'll be able to go down to your purchasing of services and purchase Office 365 licenses at nonprofit prices. Now the one thing I want to mention too, as I did talk about earlier, licenses can range from an E1 to an E3. And I didn't bring it up earlier, so I want to bring it up now. E1 and E3 licenses can be purchased separately. They can be purchased at any time in any order, and you can also mix and match in your environment. So for example, if I click on this user listed under here in the admin portal, we have an E3 license that we can assign. Now, if I wanted to assign an E3 license today and determine, well, maybe this user doesn't really require all the applications that come with an E3, and I want to purchase an E1 license, I can very easily go through the process, purchase the E1 license, come back into the user's account and simply uncheck the E3 plan and check off the E1 plan and then hit save, and that will instantly change her plan from the E3 to the E1. Or vice versa, if I decide to go E1 with my employees and then determine, well, later on maybe I should have gotten the E3 plan, I can very easily go through, apply that in the same manner, and then hit save, and then everything is instantly changed for you. There's no other migration required with that. The other thing I want to show you here too is it's very easy to assign an administrator role to somebody. So if you're working as a IT administrator and you have somebody that you need to set up, it's maybe in case of a backup or something along those lines, it's very easy to go through under there and assign the administrative role. And then once you save your settings, the next time that person logs in, that setting is going to take effect. And I mentioned earlier with the public folders, one thing I do want to make sure that everybody is aware of is what actually requires a user license. With Office 365, a license is only applied to a user that will require, let me go back into here, an Exchange mailbox, a SharePoint account, the Office apps, a Link online account, as well as the actual desktop apps and Active Directory Sync. So basically, if you're an end user and you're going to be logging in, you're going to require a license. If I go into my Exchange portal here, let me go ahead and, there we go. If I go into my Exchange portal here, I want to show you that everybody that was listed in that Office 365 users group also has a mailbox assigned to it. But you're going to notice that there are also groups, resources, and other external contacts. Now these group resources and external contacts do not require additional licensing. These are things that you can set up after everybody's been migrated. So for example, we have a human resources distribution group. This does not count as a license. It is something that we can apply users into, so that way they're able to see the emails that get sent to this email address, but they're not actual accounts. They're only used for the distribution of emails to multiple contacts. Now resources, for those that are using them, are things such as conference rooms. So if you're currently using a system where you want to book a meeting in a certain room and you have room resources, those will also carry over into Office 365, and they again do not require a license. And then there are those that have external contacts as well. So this is great if you need to add somebody with a personal email address into your organization. And again, you will not have to worry about a license for these folks. You can also get your shared mailboxes, which these two, again, don't require a license. Then you're also going to get access to your public folders. Let's see here. There it goes. So if you have public folders in your environment, as you can see here, these are migrated into the Office 365 environment, and then you'll be able to distribute those public folders with the permissions as you need to from your existing environment. Now, a lot of times too, you may run into issues where mail is undeliverable or somebody is just having an issue. A lot of times you'll be able to run reports or message traces within your current environment. I just want to show you here too that Microsoft allows you to do that through their delivery reports and message traces built into Office 365. Now, as you can see here, so I can pick a mailbox using one of these delivery reports, and then I can use it to troubleshoot and determine, okay, well, it looks like the email was sent to the mailbox, but you're not receiving it on the client. So maybe my next troubleshooting step would be to make sure that it was received through the web client, and then isolate the issue to being some kind of connectivity between the client and the server. Now, as I mentioned before too, Microsoft does provide built-in protection. You can see that there is a malware filter, a connection filter, as well as a content filter and a spam filter. These are all editable, so the default setting gives you a number of different security protocols applied to it. However, you can also jump in from an administrative standpoint and fine-tune each of these policies to make sure that it's going to work to the best of your organization's ability. Oh, what am I looking for? There it is. Now, this protection is actually brought to you by Microsoft's Forefront Online Protection. So for those that are familiar with Microsoft's Forefront products, this is the online version that was built specifically for Office 365. And the last thing I want to show you here too that I mentioned earlier is the data loss prevention. So if there are organizations out there that require, let's just say, HIPAA compliance, for example, some folks will have experienced in the past issues where folks are sending out confidential emails or emails that contain confidential information, and they maybe have to invest in some third-party tool to prevent that from happening. or have worked out in the past some kind of an issue where maybe fines were involved because said protection was not put in place. Well, with Office 365, Microsoft actually provides a template as well as a number of other templates available to you that you can use to just simply apply in your environment. And again, like I mentioned with this HIPAA template, for example, you're going to be able to apply this and then verify that all of your users in your Outlook environment, in your Exchange environment, are being HIPAA compliant. So if anybody sent a message out that did not meet any of the templates, previous, what's what I'm looking for, previous, requirements, it's going to block that notification. It's going to send the administrator a note basically stating that such and such persons tried to send an email out with confidential information or whatever the policy states. And then the person who sent the email is going to receive a notification stating that their email had been rejected for whatever the reason was. Now, some folks will state, okay, well, that's great that it affects the whole organization, but maybe we do have one or two people within the organization who do need to send out that kind of information where a policy like this would prohibit their ability to work. The beauty of that is with the policy, you can actually include exceptions and then move those couple of folks into the exception rule, and then you can actually, with additional add-on, purchase encryption licenses for those folks. So that means that anything that is sent by those individuals will be encrypted, and then they can go ahead and send out those, maybe confidential information emails without any kind of issue or blocking. Now, the other thing I want to bring up here too is since Office 365 is such a mobile-centric environment, a lot of folks now are incorporating their own Android or iPhone devices or iPad devices, and it makes it a lot easier from the organizational standpoint of being able to determine what device rules you want to apply. So you can set it up so that, and by default it is set up this way, to allow all devices to be allowed onto your environment. Anybody with an iPhone, an iPad, an Android device can easily connect using their Office 365 account. And with the Office Pro package, you can actually download a local phone client to open up your SharePoint or SkyDrive pages, and you'll be able to synchronize without any issue. If from an administrative standpoint you want to maybe restrict that to certain makes or models, or maybe you're an iPhone device only shop, you can actually block anything that you would not want in your environment, or you can set it up to send you a notification when an unauthorized device tries to get access, and then you as an administrator can determine whether or not you want to whether or not you want to allow that phone. Now, with that being said, I also want to jump over and show you, whoops, let me go here, go to Karen here. I want to go over with you a little bit about SkyDrive and SharePoint. So as I kind of mentioned before, SkyDrive is almost what I would consider to be your personal home drive on the Microsoft cloud. So as you can see here, these are Karen's documents. These are documents that are personal to her, and you can, if you want to, share them out with others, but by default this is your private storage. You can copy up to 25 gigs of data, and you can have files that are up to 2 gigs in size, all on your SkyDrive page. And if I were to open this up, this is where the web apps come into play. Oops, I think this was a blank document. Let me go ahead and open up something with some actual data in there. Well, let's open up this for right now. One thing I want to point out too is if you have a PDF reader installed on your computer, you can actually open up PDF documents from within the web browser as well. So it's not just limited to just your Word or Excel. But let me open up, let's see here, let's see if we have something here. I just want to show you something with actual data in it. So as you can see here, when I click on a document by default, it's going to open it up in a read-only view. Now, if I needed to, I can edit the Word document from within the web app, which if I do this, it's going to go ahead and open it up from within the actual web browser here. Or I can choose to open it up in Word. Now, this is great where if I, let's just say perhaps, want to work from my laptop out on the road. I don't want to go through the burden of having to open up the Word document from within the Word app. I just want to open it up real quick, make a change, or even just view something. I can do it all from my web browser. Now, some people are looking at this thinking, all right, well, that looks really cool, but I really don't want to work out of a web browser all the time. What if I'm at my computer desk and I want to open it up using, let's just say, File Explorer and my built-in Word app? Well, you can actually do that very simply by clicking on this Sync button. So what I've already done for you here is synchronize one of my libraries. So let me go ahead and show you here. When I open up the File Explorer window on this computer, you can see I actually have two options, but we're going to go into SkyDrive. SkyDrive Synchronization shows me everything that is here on the web browser. So that same document that I opened up, I can do that same work from my File Explorer, and it's going to open it right up into my Word client. And here I'm able to make the changes that I need to. Now the thing with this too is a lot of people also ask me, well, what happens if I'm not connected to the internet? Do I always have to be online to be able to view and edit documents? And the beauty of the synchronization is you do not. So if you're working on a laptop in the office and then you need to go travel maybe to a customer's remote site or something along those lines, and you need to open up and edit a document where you don't have an internet connection, this will store a local cached copy onto your computer where you can go ahead and open up the document, make your changes and save them, and then the next time you get connected to the internet, it's going to look and it's going to do a comparison. It's going to use the Sync Center down here. Go ahead and open that up. It's going to use the Sync Center to do a compare and contrast against which version is local, and the online version is going to say, hey, I noticed a discrepancy. Which version do you want to keep? Do you want to keep the local copy? Do you want to keep the online copy? Or do you want to keep both? So you'll have that ability to determine which one you want, and then you can go ahead and move on from there. Now, Sites is the SharePoint page that I had brought up earlier. And the one thing I want to show you here is this is kind of a twofold situation. You can create intranet pages. So as we're going to see here, when I open up the main intranet page for this Contoso demo, you can see we have our number of different departments up here. So if I was in the HR department, I could click on my HR link here and be taken into the HR specific page. Same with IT, our operations and sales teams. I can use this to post information about the organization, maybe upcoming events, anything that from a SharePoint administrator side I want to go ahead and upload. Now the real bread and butter of the SharePoint page that I want to highlight here is the document repository. So as you can see here, I'm in the sales site underneath the document repository, and I have a list of different documents here. So a couple of things I want to point out first is right away it's going to show me when the last modified date was, and then it's going to even show me who made that change. So if you ever worked on a document in a collaborative environment and something has changed and you're not quite sure who made the last change, there's no auditing, or maybe the file got deleted, you have no version history of it, you're stuck between maybe whatever your last backup was. Here you're going to be given a couple of different options. Right away you're going to see ownership of the file. Now the other thing that we'll show you here too is there's a version history. So as I click on this document's version history, it's going to show me in chronological order who the last person to make the change was, when that change was made, and what the file size discrepancy is. So for example, if I was working on a document with somebody and somebody decided that they were going to make a major change to the document, made that change and then saved it, overwriting the original copy, we go back maybe a couple days later and determine, wow, we're missing an entire chunk of this document. What happened to it? Well, maybe that by that point the backup is gone, you're stuck with those changes. However, with SharePoint, you're going to be able to go back and look and see, okay, well, this file size was a lot larger when Karen made those changes. So let's go back to this file and then let's do a restore and let's make sure that this is the actual copy that we want to keep, and then later make your changes to the original document. Now, for those that are also working in a a network share environment where you have all of your documents stored on one file server, One of the common issues is if somebody needs to open up a document just for maybe a read-only purpose, they're going to open up that document and they're going to lock the file basically. So anything that another person tries to do, they'll be limited by the other person just opening the document up for a read-only purpose. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but I want to point it out again. The first thing that happens when I open up a document through either SharePoint or SkyDrive is it opens up in a read-only view. So as of right now, you can probably hear my keyboard. I'm clicking and clacking away. It's not making any changes. So this is perfect if I just need to jump in, maybe look at a couple numbers for a customer, and then quickly close out of the document. Well, what happens now if I want to go in and actually make some changes? Well, let me show you. If I open it up in the in the Excel web app, first thing you want to see down here is it's going to change to one person is editing. Now, I'm the only person here, but if I click on it, we're going to see that it sure enough is me, Karen, editing this document. So let me minimize this real quick. Oh, whoops. Whoopsie, hold on. I don't know why that's not going away. Let me do a full screen again. And oh, there we go. All right, so let me go back to my document. I'm going to show you here using my administrator account, and I want to show you too, just so that way you know I'm opening up the same document. I'm going to browse to that same repository for sales, and this is going to be under my admin account, and you can see I am now using Internet Explorer window and no longer my Chrome window. So let me go ahead and open up the same financial analysis document that Karen has open. And of course, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to open it up in our read-only view. So as Karen is in here making her edits, I can just go ahead and open up the latest read-only view. But now I need to make a change because the customer made, whoops. The customer maybe told me on the phone that we need to update some things. So let me go ahead and reopen this document because it apparently thought I had it open. So let me go back in here. Go back into my edit. There it is. All right, let's try this one more time. All right, there we go. So as you can see here, as I'm logged in as Karen, it's going to automatically notify me that somebody else jumped into the document and is starting to make changes. This one person changed to two people, and as I click on it, you're going to be able to see all the same people in that document that are working on it collaboratively. So as I'm working on this document, if I decide to move something down there, you can see almost instantly it affects the other user's screen. So anything that I make here, you know what, let's do it as Karen. I'll make that change, and then if I go back and see on my administrator screen, that change is immediately reflected. Now I'm going to go ahead and let's just say I'm done making my changes. I'm going to jump out as the administrator, and it's going to change this now to one person editing again. And then as Karen, I can go ahead and close out, and it's going to take me back to my main page. Now this is great for those that are, like I mentioned, in a file network share environment where multiple people usually update documents at any given time. But what if you're working on a document and you don't want anybody to make any changes while you're in there? So that way you know that anything that you're getting put in there is going to be what you want it to be and nobody else's. Well, they do give you an option to do what's called a checkout. So if I click on this checkout option here, you'll see now that this little green arrow gets appended to the file. If I hover over that green arrow, you're going to see now that it says checked out to Karen Berg. And as we can tell, we're logged in as Karen from here. So as Karen, I can just go ahead and open up the document. Again, my read-only view is the default, and I'm going to go ahead and make my changes. Now, since I locked it out, I'm able to go in and I can do any change that I need to. We'll just go ahead and do that. Let me minimize this over here. Let me refresh my page because I want to make sure that I'm using the most recent copy of everything. So let's see here, once that loads. I apologize, I must be taxing my virtual machine with all of this stuff open. Let me go ahead and close some of this out, see if we can get this to speed up a little bit. Let's try that one more time. Okay, well, I apologize. It doesn't seem to want to be loading for me here. We'll just give it another moment. Well, that sucks. What the hell? Are you kidding me? There we go. So as the administrator, if I go ahead and hover over the checkbox, I'm going to confirm that, oh yeah, this is related to Karen. So this goes back to that whole link integration thing. If I wanted to maybe send a message to Karen as the administrator, I can go ahead and send her a link message and ask her, oh Karen, so I noticed that you're in the financial analysis document. Could you please let me know when that's going to be available for editing again? And then she can respond back at her convenience and let me know when she's either done or give me some kind of an ETA. Now, if I go in as the administrator into this financial document again, now before, as I mentioned, it's going to open it up in a read-only view. So if all I need to do is open up the document to tell the customer some information, I'm still going to have access to do so. But if they come back to me and say, oh no, that's not accurate, you need to make this change, well, look what's going to happen as the administrator tries to open it. It's going to say that the file is locked for editing and that someone else has the workbook checked out. And again, that's where I can easily open up Link, send Karen a message and ask her, hey, can you please let me know when the document's available? I need to make an update. Or I can very simply give her the information so that she can update the document. Now, I mentioned earlier with SkyDrive that you're able to synchronize and use your documentation in an offline mode. I want to point out that you can do the same with your SharePoint repositories as well. It's not limited to just SkyDrive, so if I wanted to synchronize this sales document repository, I can do the same thing. I just simply click Sync. It's going to create a SharePoint portal for me now. Now, if you see here, all the documents, let me do a minimize view here. So all the documents are the same. It's going to show me the same resources, and it's going to allow me to just simply double click on the file, and again, it's going to open up in my local client. We'll let that open up here. And there we go. So again, it's going to be a read-only view, so that way if anybody else needs to use it, they'll have it available. But as soon as I want to start editing, I'll be able to. I can just go ahead and, we don't want to update the spreadsheet. We'll just save that. And then that change will reflect across my local machine here, and then that's going to be synchronized with the document up here. So if I open up the product mix from my local side, you can see that that text no longer exists here. And I forgot to uncheck this document. So let me go ahead and do that so the next person who needs to edit this document will be able to. Now let's see, I'm a little bit ahead of schedule here. Let me make sure I touch on some of the other features regarding Office 365 that I did not quite do. I did mention the E1 and the E3 licenses are interchangeable, so that way you can start with one, you can start then upgrade to the other. You can also expand upon your Office 365 licensing if you go with an E1 and you want to add archiving, or if you want to add the package to it, you'll have that available as well. The other thing I want to touch on here too is CCB support. As far as a migration goes, like I mentioned earlier in the demo, CCB handles Office 365 migrations for nonprofits. So that includes anything from working with you as the customer to identify which domain you would like to use, getting that domain registered, working with Microsoft on verifying you as a nonprofit organization, all the way down to scheduling the migration and working with you to determine the mailbox sizes, public folders, room resources, ensuring that all the data gets copied over and uploaded into the Microsoft Cloud, and then verifying that everybody is able to authenticate using their Office 365 credentials. And then we also provide support for any kind of questions or troubleshooting that may come after a migration. The other thing that I want to bring up too with CCB is we also provide with our support a self-paced training organization that we use so folks can get a little bit more accustomed to Office 365. There are some things that have changed. Some of it is just in the appearance. Some of the things are just in the way that you can administrate. But the Office 365 training that we provide gives you both, so that way you can jump in, all video based. You can watch these training videos and learn a little bit more about how Office 365 functions from not only a user standpoint, but from an administrative standpoint. And let me just double check here. Let's take a look at some of the questions here. I see one from Robin. In our board add-on. That is a good question, Robin. Let's see here. Let me just take a look at, let me go into my administrative page here. It's actually very easy to see what kind of add-ons you can apply. So let me just browse here to the apps page. And let's see here. This will depend on where you're at. So right now I'm in the SharePoint apps page here. So these are a number of the different add-ons that we can add. And maybe I'm a little mistaken on the in-out board. Robin, would you be so kind as to just maybe elaborate a little bit more on that, please?
You know, a couple of months from now, you'll be like, oh, this is easy, right?
I do have the sheets for you.
Oh,
These were the ones that you...
Yeah.
I didn't miss anything, did I? Nope. Okay.
Let's see. While Robin is explaining that to me a little bit more, one of the other things I want to show you here too, I don't think I mentioned, as far as link meetings go, you're able to include, of course, internal organizations, but you're also able to, from a link meeting standpoint, include external organizations. As everybody here has joined in, you're obviously not dialing in or calling in from your Office 365 account. You're all coming in from the Outlook web app. So your meeting invites can span up to 250 people, and they can range from anywhere from the internal organization as well as the external organization. So I want to make sure I touched on that as well. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Well, thank you, Robin, for explaining that. So basically, you're looking for some kind of a add-on that will show you the availability and maybe pull it from Link, it sounds like, to get a report on when that person maybe was marked as out of office or away or anything like that. I don't know of anything like that at the moment, and that's a really good question because I actually can use something like that myself. Let me go ahead and mark that down on my list of follow-ups here because I don't see anything. I've never heard of anything as of yet, but if it's not, it's definitely something that I think Microsoft should jump on and develop. Let me mark that here if you don't mind. Okay, Robin, I marked that down as a follow-up. That's a really great question. If you wouldn't mind, could you let me know who your rep is? I want to make sure I reach out to them to get your contact information, and then that way we'll be able to follow up on this question a little bit later, and I can give you a better answer on that. Okay, perfect. Let me follow up with Nick then, Robin, and I will get back to you on that. I'm actually curious myself. I really want to know the answer to this because, as I mentioned, we could actually use this around our office as well. So great question. Thank you. Now, while I'm on the subject here, though, I do want to point out, too, that there are a number of other types of add-ons that you can add, such as tasks, issue tracking, calendar, contacts, these sort of things. So you're not just limited, and this is where I think the development side can come into play. if you can develop within SharePoint, you can create your own custom app. So, Robin, if they don't have anything out there from the Microsoft developers, if you happen to catch somebody who knows how to work within SharePoint, they may be able to whip up something for you too. But let's double check on that. I want to make sure I get you the best answer. Now, real quick, I just want to make sure, and again, I can probably talk on a number of different items here. I want to make sure that there aren't any critical things that I'm missing here that I want to make sure I bring on to this call. If you don't mind, I'm just going to flip through my little cheat sheet here. Oh, the one thing I do want to bring up as far as storage goes for SharePoint, when you bring up a new tenant or a new portal in Office 365, Microsoft gives you 10 gigabytes of storage for a site plus 500 megabytes per user. So if you have 100 licensed users, that's going to give you 50 gigs plus your 10 gigs for a total of 60 gigs of total storage space. If you are looking to migrate all of your data from, let's just say, a file store to a SharePoint store, you can increase your total storage space at 20 cents per gigabyte. And that's something that is just done through Microsoft directly. So if you need to get up to, I think they go up to 2 terabytes of storage space, you can purchase that, like I said, at an additional 20 cents per gigabyte.
Yep. No, he got the approval. So we just switch him over. This guy had no idea how to.
So Jeremy, to answer your question real quickly, if you have users that you need to retain documents for HIPAA requirements, what you can do is you can move that user's email into an online archive, which will be available for you to attach to other user accounts. So if you needed to have, and you can actually do this a couple of different ways, if you needed to have any kind of mail forwarding done from one user to the other, you can do that. Or you can basically take the contents of the account, bring it into an online archive, and then disable the account. And then therefore you can reuse that license for somebody else. If you needed to refer to any of those emails from that user, you'll be able to just quickly go in through that archive. And I hope that answers your question. Let's see, do you have a solution for getting our social network posts? Social network is kind of twofold. There is a integrated LinkedIn type of integration, but it doesn't actually work with things such as like Facebook is actually integrated. It's Facebook and LinkedIn, but it doesn't do things like Google Plus or any other type of instant messaging service. So I think if you actually if you look here, and I'm still trying to figure out how this is set up, but so for Jeremy, for example, it's actually using his LinkedIn integration picture because I know he has his integrated. But you can do that. And I think the level of detail, I had to double check, and maybe Robin, I'll make a follow-up with you on this as well, just to double check that it includes the kind of integration that you're looking for. Because it does tie in, but to the level that you're looking for, I want to make sure that that is actually going to be the same. Now, if you're looking to do things such as Google Plus or any other type of instant messaging service, as of right now, it doesn't include that yet. So maybe one day Microsoft will incorporate that, but as of right now, it is tied strictly to the LinkedIn and Facebook integration.
There's like 250 people on there.
Okay, so for newsfeed, that would be more of an internal type newsfeed. So if you have somebody in your organization responsible for posting updates about upcoming events or organizational things, the newsfeed is where you can do that. But I think what you're looking for might be a little different. So let me just make sure, I'm going to make a note of that as well. You got some really great questions here. I just want to make sure that that does fit what you're looking for. And Jeremy, let's see here. And Jeremy, welcome. I know we've had a couple of issues the last couple of meetings, so I'm glad to see that you're able to make the presentation this week. Let me see here. Currently have a Barracuda. Oh yeah, so I think what you would benefit from, Jeremy, would be the e-discovery portion of Office 365. It's basically the archiver, and let me see, I don't know if I have it set up here. Let me, where is that again? Is it compliance? I think that is done here. Let me double check this. Yeah, here you go. So, Jeremy, if you see on my screen here, so if you place a user in this e-discovery / hold policy, you'll be able to add mailboxes, and then from within there, enter in your search query on either one mailbox or multiple mailboxes, and then you'll be able to save your results. So I think this would be what you're looking for, that your Barracuda message archiver is currently doing today. Now, the other thing too I want to bring up, if there are any other questions that may come up later on, or anything that maybe didn't get a chance to get covered during today's demo, I do want to welcome you to reach out to your rep to schedule a meeting with one of our engineers and project managers directly. That way we can make sure to be more of a, it could be more of a one-on-one type of question and answer. It can range anywhere from very technical to just high overview. I'm hoping that there was a lot of good information that was displayed in today's demo, and hopefully it was able to answer a lot of questions and maybe even show you a side of Office 365 that you didn't know existed. But again, if there is anything else, and maybe if you want to start a trial, maybe you can kick off that process so you can in fact get into your own Office 365 environment. Like I mentioned before, I welcome you to reach out to your sales rep. We'll be able to get them over to you with all the information needed, and then we can even go ahead and schedule another meeting, more one-on-one like I mentioned, with one of our engineers, so that way we can ensure that all of your questions get answered. Let's see here. I assume that there may have been one more question, so we'll let that one go through, and if not, I would like to thank you all for attending today's meeting. And we do hold these weekly. We do have a recording of this going, so we should be able to post this online for viewing later. So if anybody was unable to make the meeting and maybe just is unable to make the weekly calls, we should have that uploaded onto our YouTube page, which let me just go ahead and pull that up on my side here. Let me get the link for you. Make sure I send this out as well, so that way you can keep an eye out for the latest video trainings. All right, well, with that being said, again, I want to thank everybody here. Robin, I'm going to reach out to Nick, see if I can get your contact information. Everybody else, like I mentioned, if there's any other questions moving forward, feel free to reach out to your representative. We'll get something scheduled with one of our project managers and engineers, and we'll be able to answer any and all questions that you have. And again, I want to thank you again, and everybody have a great rest of the day.